Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? So, I hope you're doing well, even if you're stuck inside. It's going to be a quick one today because I've got a little rant for you, as much as I'm going to on a Sunday morning anyway. So I know most of us are on lockdown. I mean, it's global. It doesn't really matter where you are or who you are. This is where we all collectively are. And if you'll notice, the title of this particular live is To Be or Not to Be Productive. And there's a reason for that. I've seen a lot of posts about how, 100 years ago, this person did that, and that person did this. And one of my favorites, when I first saw it, I was like, well, that's pretty cool. Was Shakespeare supposedly wrote King Lear and Macbeth during a time when he was in quarantine. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Interesting fact. But what I've noticed is people are kind of using that sort of, Shakespeare did King Lear, and, this guy invented that, and this guy invented this, and as a way to kind of shame people or push people into being more productive than perhaps they were being at that moment. And that's starting to kind of piss me off. And I'll tell you why. This is a state of emergency. This is a high state of anxiety for a lot of people. And you're taking that stuff out of a huge amount of context. So let's just talk about Shakespeare, because I studied him a little bit, and I know a little about Shakespeare. Not as much as I would like to, but I know a little. So first of all, let's talk about the fact that he wrote plays for a living. He was doing nothing different than most of us, which was taking his work home with him and trying his best to get it done. You know what I'm saying? That was his job. He didn't suddenly start becoming a writer. He had been doing it. He was already really, really good at it. So, keep that in mind. No one who has never written a play before is going to suddenly sit down and write a play on par with Macbeth or King Lear, and he was extraordinarily talented. So let's get that right first of all. Second, most of these people were a long time ago, and they retired to their country estates, which means most likely someone like Shakespeare had a housekeeper or a wife or staff who took care of most of the day-to-day stuff that we're struggling with. They probably didn't have to go to the shops, because most likely if they were on their country estate, they had a lot of self-sufficient stuff going on. And if they did go to the shops, it wasn't Shakespeare going. So all this burden was taken off of him. Now, granted, it probably still wasn't easy, not having visitors and not being able to go to, the things that he loved, and restaurants, and out to the plays that he adored, and visiting with people who inspired him. I'm sure there were times when it wasn't easy. But can we just put that in some context? He didn't have kids running around. He didn't have a boss breathing down his neck for the same kind of productivity that is just not possible when you're not interacting with all the people in your office or your building. He didn't have this worry about being safe and having to sanitize our groceries, which we have never had to worry about before, other than washing our fruits and veg, right? He didn't have worries about, getting to the store so that he can get toilet paper, and constant barrage of news that is stressful and overwhelming, and all the things that we're dealing with right now were not going on, or at a very much smaller scale. So I just want to point all this out to you, because there are people who are starting to feel badly about themselves because they're not learning a new language, or they're not taking online classes, or they're unable to figure out this technology to do things, like they're struggling. Can you give yourself a break, please? Can you be a little kinder to yourself? You're doing the best you can with what you have and what you know, and you'll get there. And it's okay to not be super productive. Is there a place for that? Yes. As a coach, I would say you need to do something every day that makes you feel like you've done something every day, but that something can simply mean cleaning the kitchen, making a healthy meal for yourself and your family, doing a puzzle with your kids, going out doing some weeding. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be King Lear productive, right? Or discovering gravity productive. It doesn't have to be that level of productive to still feel accomplished. I don't know if you've ever read the book or perhaps seen the video speech. There was a colonel, I can't remember his name, but he wrote a book called, if you want to be successful, make your bed every day. I'll look it up and I'll put it in the link for you guys. I have the book somewhere. It's eye-opening in that what he says, making your bed sets the tone for the rest of your day. And the best part about it is, even if you have the shittiest day ever, where everything falls apart, where every project you touch has 1,000 problems to it, where you just can't seem to get anything done, you come home and your bed is made. So you were successful, you were productive, you did do something useful and successful and positive. And it's a mind trick. It absolutely is, right? But it works. So yeah, even if all you do is get your bed made or wash your coffee cup and put it back in the cupboard instead of leaving it on the counter, that's enough. This is not the time to start beating yourself up because you're not Shakespeare. It really isn't. If you want to do something productive and wonderful, then call somebody and check in on them. Right? You don't have to be discovering gravity to be making your time useful. If you want to be helpful, reorganize your closet if you want to, but talking to your kids is also super productive. So please, can we just stop? I mean, I get most people are reposting those sorts of things because it is interesting. I mean, I when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. But I think it's gotten to the point where it's not helpful, and it's really adding stress and burden to those people who are already struggling. And there's a lot of people struggling. So check in on your friends and listen. Check in on your kids and listen. But I also want to encourage you, because this is what I do, to check in with yourself and listen. Are you the kind of person who learning something new and working on a project is helpful? Is going to distract you and make you feel like there's purpose to all this mess? Are you that kind of person? Maybe you are today, maybe you won't be tomorrow, but check in and listen. If you're finding that the idea of working on an online class, for example, for me personally, most of the time, that's my happy place. I love learning. Learning is things that I'm interested in is a beautiful spot for me. But I'm going to be honest, I haven't done any of that for probably a week. I have been trying to figure out a bunch of other stuff, and it was too much bandwidth in my brain. I could not. It just was too much. It would be a stressor rather than a stress reliever. So whatever it is you're doing, and there are things that we absolutely have to do. Excuse me. But if it's a choice, excuse me, allergy season. If you've got a choice about what you're doing, I want you to really check in. Is this a stressor or a stress reliever? Right? Is sitting on the couch for 5 hours watching Netflix really what you need right now? Or is a walk around the block really going to be more useful for you, even if it's a bit of a push to get going? So, stressor, stress reliever, and really work on checking in with yourself, but also with the people that you're with, right? If you're isolating at home with your family, oh boy, people really get cabin fever, irritated, stressed out. Check in, right? Give them some grace. Give yourself some grace. This is not the time. This is not the time to be pushing super hard to get things done, okay? If you find getting things done is helping you and making you feel better, hey, go for it. I'm all for productivity. But if you find that it's just, wigging you out, stressing you out, making you angry, frustrated, or turning yourself inward to beat yourself up, give yourself a freaking break. This is a hard time, and I think a lot of us don't realize how hard it really is, and we won't realize how hard it really is until things smooth out and we kind of come out the other end, because we're in the thick of it. So, be kind. Give yourself a little bit of self-love and check in, okay? Meanwhile, I hope you know that this is absolutely something that you can handle, but if you can't, we are here for you. Take a few deep breaths. Do some self-care this morning. I'll let you know, for me today, other than this, because this is definitely a stress reliever for me to come on and chat with you guys. I'm off social media for today. I'm not doing the news. I'm not doing the Twitter or the Instagram. I'm not doing any of it today. My phone is going on Spotify to a beautiful spa channel that I found someone rigged together. And I'm just puttering around the house, maybe going to read. I'm going to do so much of the stress relieving stuff today so that I can handle whatever the week throws at me coming up. And I hope you find that thing for you that helps bring you back to center. Okay? Have a wonderful week. I will talk to you tomorrow. Mwah. Bye for now.